We know he's had tough fights. He's had a couple of tough fights. But, dude, he's so goddamn good. He's so protected. He knows where to be and where not to be. He's so composed. Like, look at that. Look at that movement. Look how he moves away from everything. So you're punching at air, and you're still threatening, but you're not really hitting him, and he's making you throw punches. And occasionally you clip him with a shot as he's moving away, and he rolls with a lot of shit.
But the three guys that everyone talks about are you, Alexander Usyk, and Terence Crawford. Where do you rank yourself amongst the three in the pound for pound conversation?
まあでもいつでも自分が一番だと思ってやってますから。
Throwing uppercuts, hooks, all kind of shit. Man, Inoue impressed the hell out of me, man. For real. He had just enough, like, risk, just enough defense. He had that speed, he had that power, and just the way he was dissecting his tall opponent and took his jab, his best punch away from him, his jab away from him. He wasn't able to land his jab or play, with the range with that jab and lower in a way because he was just too damn smart. My gosh, man.
Joe Rogan explains why no one can beat Naoya Inoue, praising his elite movement, sharp strategy, calm composure, and ability to evade punches, making even top opponents miss and look ineffective.
Still can crack, and still as fast as lightning.
Yeah, look, the power that he possesses, but it's not a thumping power, it's that explosive speed, that explosive power, the footwork he gets in position, and all of a sudden he's landed 3, 4, 5 shots and then he's angled.
Joe Rogan explains why no one can beat Naoya Inoue, praising his elite movement, sharp strategy, calm composure, and ability to evade punches, making even top opponents miss and look ineffective.
You are a very ferocious fighter in the ring. When did you realize that you had this like supreme power?
まあパワーではなくて、当てる能力というか。
Naoya Inoue states he believes he is the #1 fighter, crediting his success to exceptional technical power, sharp intelligence, and precise punch selection, which allow him to dominate opponents consistently.
Look at this guy. He's the best. Really, he's the best. All fighters should be like him.
みんな選手が彼のようだったらいい。
What makes him so good, Bob? Well, he's... Look. Athletes, they're good athletes, and they're great athletes. No question he's a great athlete. But the fact that he's trained the way he has, and the discipline that he has, and the fact that he is always polite and open to people, that really goes back to his culture. And the Japanese culture, particularly as he has acquired it, is certainly remarkable. And it's a real object lesson to all of our athletes in the West. You know, seeing any fighter in the lighter weight divisions, from featherweight below, like him. I mean, they've been great fighters, great boxers, been, really top people. But there's nobody that has the consistency that he has, where he not only defeats his opponent, but he knocks him out. We've never, ever seen that in the whole history of boxing.
Bob Arum says he has never seen any fighter from the lighter weight to featherweight divisions like Inoue, emphasizing that even past greats never reached his level of dominance.
Most intelligent in terms of his overall strategy to preserve his health yet to always win. I mean, he's the most intelligent. He's so good. You know, all the greats have suffered losses and setbacks, and except him.
Joe Rogan praises Inoue highly intelligent discipline with his health and technically outstanding, highlighting how his refined skills and preparation make him one of the most complete fighters today.
Man, I'm telling y'all, this dude this dude ain't no joke. This dude is a legend, straight up legend. Will be remembered forever. You will hear Inoue's name, man. Ain't nobody done it like him, man. Ain't nobody done it like him. I know some people might say Crawford and all of that, but man, this dude has fought world championship fights since he had 7 professional fights. Come on. 7 professional fights. God. He number 1 pound for pound in the game, period. He number 1. He outdid Usyk. Yeah, he outdid Usyk. He is number 1 pound for pound. Everybody needs to make him number 1 pound for pound in the game. Damn, did y'all see Inoue's greatness? Ooh, man. Inoue is something else. Inoue something. He the truth. I'm telling y'all, he is the truth. The truth, man. Look, it all started up front. Up front. I mean, we sitting up here and we saying that Nakatani the fencing master. Shit, he wasn't a fencing master in this fight. No. Inoue was getting his jab in, boy, woo. Splitting that guard, shit, he was taking full advantage of Nakatani, bringing that lead hand down low, coming, and every time he'll put it up top, and then he'll come and squeeze his jab underneath. Boy, that jab was cold from Inoue. Putting his foot on the inside to land that jab, outside to land that jab. He was varying that shit, boy. Woo, he mastered. Inoue has mastered the southpaw style. Boy, bring your...
I see you repeated the previous sentence. Would you like me to do something specific with it, such as keeping it as is, adjusting it slightly, or continuing from here with a new transcript line?
Is he still a great fighter? Hell yeah, still dangerous, still the best pound for pound fighter he is because he's taking those challenges. I put him as number 1 right now because of the challenges that he's willing to.
Bring Your Robert Garcia says, nah, Inoue is truly great because he accepts every challenge, never avoids tough opponents, and consistently defeats all competition, proving his courage, discipline, and willingness to face the best fighters available.
I know he's an all-time great. I can definitely say that. I think that's undisputed, right? Like there's no argument you can make for him not being an all-time great. I just don't know where, because top 15, it feels like a jump to be like top 15 ever. But is it? Is it a jump to say that? I don't want to be a victim of recency bias, but he is so damn good that it might make sense to put him there. But I don't know, because then you have to go through the history of the Marcus of Queensberry and how many good fighters there were and the competition they faced versus what he's faced, even if they weren't moving divisions as much as he was, and if they were moving divisions, I don't know. He is an all-time great, though. And if he were to call it quits tomorrow, he would be one of the best to have ever participated in this sport. Where that would rank and where he would rank and all that, no.
Wade Plemons states that Inoue is currently the number 1 and greatest fighter, while Alexander Usyk is also great, but their matchup is unrealistic due to competing in very different weight classes.
Naoya Inoue, save boxing is what I say. When he fights, we get boxing saved for a night because, I don't know, it just feels like the tribalism, the pomp and frill of just arguing to argue gets stripped away from the sport, and we all just gather around the TV to enjoy watching him fight. Like, he doesn't have a controversial bone in his body. He's not on Twitter like having a hate mob or anything like that. People just genuinely like watching the dude fight, and he's unique in that way. I think him and Usyk are kind of unique in that way, where they just have fans. We just like watching you fight. Because every time you fight, we're treated to a performance that we can look back on and go, man, I remember watching him fight so-and-so. I remember watching him drop the right hand. I remember Usyk dropping the left hand on Daniel Dubois, or Usyk dominating Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Inoue going toe-to-toe and then giving it back to Nonito Donaire, one of the fiercest punchers in the lower weight classes.
Wade Plemons discusses pound-for-pound greatness, suggesting Naoya Inoue might be number 1 sparking debate among fans. He admits that placing him all-time is difficult, whether top 15 is fair or simply a result of recency bias. Boxing history, including the Marquis of Queensberry-era fighters, complicates comparisons across generations. Yet he insists Inoue is unquestionably an all-time great, possibly retiring as one of the best. Fans appreciate how his fights feel pure, free from controversy similar to Alexander Usyk, whose style also unites audiences. Both Inoue and Alexander Usyk are admired for performances that transcend tribal arguments, reminding viewers why boxing is celebrated. Every appearance feels like a special event where technique, discipline, and respect for the sport dominate discussion and bring fans together. His legacy continues to grow with each fight, leaving debates open, but admiration consistently strong across generations of boxing enthusiasts worldwide today and always.
The danger on the other side. I mean, all the fights that he's had previously, none of those opponents come close to the quality that's in front of him, both in terms of skill and hitting power. So he's being cautious for a reason. Like I say, you make one mistake, then you could be in trouble. I just felt it was a touch. There's cautious and there's overly cautious, and that's ultimately, I think he was overly cautious in the early rounds. So that the reason was, I mean, I spoke to Rudy Hernandez down in this lobby about 10 minutes ago, and he said, look, you can't go in there guns blazing. I know he's got very good timing. You know, you make one mistake and it could be your last. So I get it, but that ultimately has led to him losing the decision.
Would you want to see it again?
To be honest, it's close enough to where I think it merits a rematch, right? I definitely think it was close enough, but there's not a lot of talk about it, Lewis, to be honest. I mean, there was no mention of it at the press conference.
Ultimate.
Tom Gray reacts to the Inoue versus Junto Nakatani fight by highlighting how uppercuts and big power shots shifted momentum and briefly gave Inoue a crucial break to recover and adjust before responding strongly afterward. He noted a head clash between an aggressive southpaw and an aggressive orthodox fighter disrupted rhythm at a pivotal moment, benefiting Inoue while disadvantaging Nakatani. Discussing the early rounds, Tom Gray said he was somewhat surprised by Nakatani's cautious approach given his usual aggressiveness in previous fights. He explained that the high skill and power of Inoue forced caution because one mistake could be decisive. Tom Gray added that Rudy Hernandez also emphasized the need for caution, but felt Nakatani became overly cautious early.
That's exactly what I think is going to happen. He said that he was going to take a break after this fight, so I don't think we're going to see him until the very end of this year or the beginning of next, conceivably. He's had 5 fights in about 16 months. I can understand him wanting a rest. He's 33 years old. He's not far off the point where you're calling him a veteran now, and his body needs time to rest. And you can take time out and, you know, recharge the batteries. He might come back rejuvenated, be an even better fighter than he's been in his last 2 or 3 fights. But he's also had, you know, a huge amount of training camps, and he's gone 12 tough rounds in this fight and in the 2 fights prior. So, you know, recharge the batteries, understand it. We'll miss him, but I think he needs a rest, and I can understand him wanting.
Ultimately, this allowed Inoue to control phases of the bout and edge the decision. In the discussion, Tom Gray suggested the fight was close enough to merit a rematch, though public demand seemed limited. He noted that post-fight media rooms were quiet on the topic, and other journalists did not strongly push for an immediate second meeting. Overall, Tom Gray concluded that while the tactical discipline from Nakatani was understandable, it ultimately reduces offensive output against the precision, timing, and power of Inoue. He praised both fighters for elite-level performances under pressure, noting the bout will be remembered for its intensity and adjustments.
Were clear rounds in my opinion for Inoue. And I think the thing that maybe surprised some people, I wouldn't say it surprised me, but I found interesting about it, was that Inoue did dominate that lead hand battle. Nakatani really struggled to find a home for the lead hand, which you would think would be strange because he is a lot longer than Inoue, but it's just the feet of Inoue. He's just so quick, so hard to read when he's bouncing in and out, and he really controlled the range, the distance. The timing was all in Inoue's favor through the first half of the fight. Nakatani did struggle to get that timing and that rhythm down. And it was interesting, when asked about the start of the fight afterwards, Nakatani said that he didn't want to reveal too much of what he had to Inoue too early because he knows that Inoue learns and adapts very, very quickly in the ring. As I mentioned before, in all those fights where Inoue had been knocked down by guys, he instantly would adapt. He'd find the solution to that knockdown very, very quickly, and then he'd go on to absolutely dominate and stop all the guys that knocked him down. This was obviously something that they'd spoken about in the Nakatani camp. Don't give him too much too early and then press him later. And
his foot.
Naoya's recent win over Nakatani was a high-level tactical fight that showed both respect and sharp adjustment from both men. In the early rounds, Inoue was extremely efficient, landing clean singles and doubles without overcommitting. What stood out was that Inoue barely threw his left hook in the first half, likely due to caution against Nakatani's dangerous southpaw timing and overhand left. Nakatani also showed discipline early, working behind the jab, but being careful not to give away openings. However, Inoue was quicker to read the distance and consistently edged the rounds with sharper, more accurate shots.
matchup.
Or is it that Inoue's getting a bit older and slowing down? I think it's the former, personally. There was moments in there where, you know, Inoue was kind of stopping in front of him, squaring up a bit. He wasn't quite as bouncy with his feet. And that was when Nakatani was going through the motions. He was punching as he moved. He was getting angles. He was getting his head off the center line. For both men, I felt later on the fight, counters were starting to work better because they were both simply throwing more. But for me, it was when Nakatani was getting close, letting those bent arm shots go, the uppercuts, the straight left hand, the overhand left, he started to get into play a lot more. And it was in particular the right hook around the guard of Inoue that I thought he was having good effect with. The lead foot battle was, again, it was there to see throughout the fight, and whoever had their foot to the outside typically was doing well. Early on in the fight, Inoue was going up the middle channel, up the outside channel, he was mixing it. It was very, very hard for Nakatani to read and time, but Nakatani then started to be doing the same thing later on in the fight as Inoue's feet had slowed down a little bit. I think the willingness to go through the phases later in the fight for Nakatani, press Inoue back to the ropes and get to work, it's a hard one because if he does it earlier in the fight, maybe he gets countered and gets hurt really badly. Perhaps he did it at the earliest possible moment for all we know, but he certainly did.
And his footwork and ability to control range made it difficult for Nakatani to settle into a rhythm. He started to win rounds in the second half and had real momentum, forcing Inoue to stay defensively responsible and adjust mid-fight again. Still, the early work from Inoue proved decisive. His accuracy, timing, and control of the first half allowed him to bank crucial rounds. Even when Nakatani came on strong late, Inoue's composure and ring IQ ensured he stayed ahead. Overall, it was a competitive, intelligent performance from both, but Inoue's early dominance and precision ultimately secured him the victory in a closely contested world-class matchup.
And Nakatani wins these last 2 rounds with a very close fight. Inoue boxed brilliantly in that 11th round. You could see by the end he was tired. He was looking up at the clock at times, which is normally a sign of a fighter who is feeling it a bit. He was wasting a bit of energy, I felt, in there, Naoya, in a way. He was moving, he was fainting, he was, you know, the up and down, the bob and the weave and stuff like that. Sometimes he was doing it excessively. I felt personally that maybe he didn't need to be quite doing it as much as he was. And I think maybe that's why he's 33 years old. I mean, it's not old, but for a guy at super bantamweight, normally that's the age where you start to see a bit of a decline. Not like heavyweight where you could say he's going into his prime. It's very different, very, very different. He won the 11th round. Nakatani goes out the 12th round, lets the shots go, doesn't do any, doesn't get rid of Inoue, but he wins that round for me. And that was the 4th round that I gave him. So I had it 8-4 in climb with 2 of the judges. One of the other judges, I suspect he gave Nakatani round 3 because you probably could have, maybe, I didn't personally, but you could probably edge him in that round. Having said that,
he was catching Naoya Inoue with some silly shots. These were shots he really shouldn't have been getting hit with at that stage. Naoya Inoue is usually so defensively responsible, but at times he does switch off slightly because of his offensive mindset. That's what allowed a few of those moments for Nakatani. Neither man was ever visibly hurt or badly wobbled, but the intensity stayed high throughout. Round 10 was a strong round for Nakatani. It was competitive from the opening bell. And both fighters came into close exchanges again. Being an orthodox versus southpaw matchup, heads came together. And a clash resulted in a cut above Nakatani's eyebrow. It was bleeding, but not seriously. Nothing fight-changing, just a noticeable mark. He was still fully functional and never in danger of the bout being stopped.
Inoue for me is the greatest fighter to come out of Japan. His dad, everything, the team are just phenomenal. The event looked phenomenal. Japan is somewhere Tokyo in particular is somewhere I am desperate to see. It's on the list of countries I want to visit, and I think this was a great advertisement for it. I really, really do. I think Nakatani is going to wish he'd started earlier, because I think that there was rounds he lost early on that he could have won if he'd have been a bit more aggressive. So it's something to learn, but Inoue is just that guy. I don't understand these people who act like because Inoue is not, he's had fights in the States, but because he's not had, the big fights in the States, well, he's making that much money that fighters from the States actually go over there because they know they're going to get well paid. He's one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen. He is phenomenally talented. He really can decide what he wants to do.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.
By round 11, the fight had reached a key stage. If Inoue had dropped even a couple of earlier rounds, things could have been very close. However, he boxed extremely well in that round, using movement feints and sharp counters. You could see slight fatigue, with Inoue occasionally looking up at the clock, which suggested he was working hard to maintain control. At 33 years old, Inoue still shows elite-level sharpness, though there are moments where his movement becomes slightly excessive. That may be a natural byproduct of experience and pace management at super bantamweight. In the 12th round, Nakatani finished strongly, letting his hands go and taking the round, but it wasn't enough to change the outcome on the cards. The fight reflected a clear early advantage for Inoue. Even though Nakatani closed impressively overall, it was a high-level technical battle, and no remains for many of the best fighters to come out of Japan, and this performance only strengthened that view.